Welcome to the making of the dangling spider. In this short video clip I'll be showing you how I use two off-camera flashes and a laser beam to take a macro picture of a spider dangling from its web. So in this shot you can see the layout we'll be using. Two flashes, a photo trigger, a Canon 7D on a macro rail using a 100mm macro lens. Firstly, we'll set up the laser beam. The photo trigger has three jobs. One is to generate the laser beam, one is to pick up the laser beam and when the beam is broken, and the last job is to fire the flash at the instant that the beam is broken. The gap between the laser and the sensor is where we'll be dangling our spider, and the bowl is just there to catch the spider should it drop off its web. Now we'll turn on our first flash. This unit is the unit that will be triggered by the photo trigger itself, and I've set the power down to its lowest setting as we're going to be quite close to the subject. We can now set our second flash, and again we'll set the power down to its lowest setting. This unit isn't triggered directly by the photo trigger, but it's triggered by an optical trigger. Now that everything is set up, we can test by breaking the beam. Now we can turn our attention to setting up the camera. I've mounted my camera on a macro rail to provide really fine control over focusing. I'm using live view and I'm focusing on the end of the sensor. The reason for this is when the sensor beam is broken, the spider will be in line with the sensor, so I'll know it should be in focus. And I'm now moving the camera very slightly so the sensor is no longer in shot. Here are the camera settings that I'll be using. I'm using a small nut on some fishing line here to show how the process works, but this will be exactly the same way that I'll be using a spider dangling on the end of its web. There's quite a bit of coordination involved because you have to open the shutter, dangle the spider and get the unit to trigger while the shutter is still open, so it takes a bit of time to get it absolutely right. I hope you like the images presented here, and I hope the explanation of how they've been created has been interesting, and I hope you can find time to leave a comment either here or over on biablephotos.co.uk. Thanks.